The last time the Walking Dead comic book series was in the comic book stores was a few months ago when Negan Lives was released back in July. Now, I want to thank Mega Brain Comics for this issue. Not only that, but for getting Jeffrey Dean Morgan's signature for me. Because Jeffrey Dean Morgan's an awesome guy. So if you have not checked them out, they're in upstate New York. They have a lot of great selection of comics, and they've done another round for signatures for Negan Lives. And today I'm going to do a review of the Walking Dead comic book number 1, which is the deluxe version. Now, thank you for Skybound for hooking me up with this issue. I got my copy yesterday, and I gotta say, this is very impressive from what I've seen. Now, I've also took footage from this along with the first issue. Well, this is the image first version of this. I already have a first print version of issue number 1, but it's graded, and there's no way for me to take it out, so I would not want it to be taken out. So I got that, along with the 10th anniversary edition of issue number 1. Now, they say that this is the first, the deluxe is the first for it to be in full color. It's actually not. The Walking Dead number 1 10th anniversary edition is the first to be in full color. But the difference between the 10th anniversary edition and this one is quite glaring, because you will see not only the differences in between the way the colors used on certain scenes inside a book along with certain panels, but you'll see a lot of grammar mistakes that was also fixed too, along with the locations of where the bubble speeches were located. Walking Dead was black and white in the first place due to it being a nice nod to George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, the original movie that came out several years ago. But of these three versions, meaning the first print along with the 10th anniversary edition and the deluxe edition, you can see all the differences here, along with the color and the tone compared to the 10th anniversary edition to the deluxe edition. I mean, in the 10th anniversary edition where Rick is in a coma, you can see a brighter tone here, but on the on the deluxe edition, you can see how dark it is in that same room, and it's going for a vibe here that it's much more dark toned than it is on the lighter hearted version of the 10th anniversary edition. I mean, look at that comparison between Rick and the dark and Rick and the light. The color really does pop out here much more than it did on the 10th anniversary edition, even though some might say it might look a little too cartoonish. Even here, when we have the room where the walkers are, there's a lot of differences in there too. Look at the room where Rick first sees a large amount of walkers in that locked hospital room. The 10th anniversary edition, the walker's blood and the walkers itself is much more lighter, but here on the deluxe edition, it is much more darker, going with that dark vibe tone. I do wish that the deluxe edition also had more color in on the blood, but I could understand why, since it would kind of pop out of the color. I mean, that's in my opinion though. Scene where Rick gets hit with the shovel by Dante, I compared the three scenes here, and I think of the three, I believe that the 10th anniversary edition one looks the best out of all of them. I know they was going for the Night of the Living Dead vibe here on the original print, but the color really does pop out better on the 10th anniversary edition for the scene than it does on the deluxe edition, mostly because I think it looks a bit cartoonish here, especially where Rick gets hit in the back of the head with a shovel. And speaking of this scene, and along with the entire issue, you can see that the text change not only from the deluxe edition to the 10th anniversary edition to the original, but you can also see that there's a lot of grammar errors that was fixed. And I've noticed that when I was reading all three at the same exact time to make the comparisons. Found interesting is the cutting room floor, which Kirkman would tell stories of the behind the scenes of creating every single issue. And it's quite good to see the storyboard script of what the issue would be like. Because he had his script in hands for months before they started producing the issue. So again, every single issue will have the cutting room floor to give us the behind the scenes info on the particular scenes of the story. Especially here when, let's see here, he put at the page 17, when I write something like big talk in a plot, I have a pretty solid idea of what needs to be said here, and big talk is meant to remind me, hey dummy, this is where big talk goes. So it gave me some good insight of where he decides to put particular speeches in those pages, and I fully understand why issues later in the series it's structured that way. And here's also a nice tidbit here. On page 10, he said he decided to spend less time in the garage so we could spend more time with the bicycle girl. The bike walker woman that we all know was actually going to be a small girl on the comic. But that did not happen, as Rick would have to ride a bike girl's actual bike. And it wouldn't make sense, so it had to be a woman so Rick could actually use the bike. It's interesting to read what kind of stories Robert Kirkman has for the Whisperer arc, because that story was mostly a 16-page panel for a lot of the stories in that volume. So I wanna literally see how he crammed up all those scenes into those 16-page panels. I meant 16 panels inside that page. I will say that I like a lot of the colors and the changes that we've seen compared to the other two versions of the book. I will have to say some of the popped out colors don't really match the tone of some of the scenes. And I think it'll probably improve down the line. I mean, I also cannot wait to see issue 100 in color, or issue number 66 in color. Hell, maybe even issue 127 in color. But this gives me a lot of to look forward to in the future for the Walking Dead comic book series, the deluxe version, because a lot of people did wanted to actually read it in color, and they could not, they couldn't understand the fact of why it was black and white in the first place. But I do think that this being in color will attract much more readers to the comic book series than it did on its first run. I know it did attract a lot, but I do know for a fact that many people prefer color. I like the black and white, but the color is a nice change. I just hope in the future that some of the color will actually match the tone of a lot of the scenes. A review of The Walking Dead Deluxe number 1. I hope you all like this review. Like, subscribe, and comment below. Do you prefer it to be in color, or do you prefer it to be in black and white? Now, with all things The Walking Dead, stay updated on my Twitter and Instagram at JulianXCaliber. Peace out.